Meeting of the New Carlisle City Council to order. Welcome the administration, the rest of council, and the audience. With that.
Mayor Cook.
Yes.
Councilwoman Grow.
Present.
Councilman Bond.
Here.
Councilman Shammy. Councilwoman Wright.
Here.
Councilman Lindsay.
Here.
And Vice Mayor Eggleston.
Here.
All present.
With that, the invocation will be by Chief Trustee.
Father, Lord, we thank you for the day and all thy many blessings, many favors. We pray that you be in this meeting, that thy perfect will and only your will be done, Father. Bless our troops, our first responders, and their families. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
And the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America. To the
I
republic.
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we don't have any minutes. Communications, I think none. City manager's report, none. And committee reports. So we'll go to the members of the public.
Hi.
Would you like to come to the podium and say something?
No, that's
Oh, yeah.
Thank you very much.
All right. With that, resolutions none, ordinance none, other business will be the comprehensive plan.
We do have one resolution.
I'm sorry.
We do have one resolution.
Oh, we do have one resolution?
It was in the
I don't
updated
have it
packet.
on mine.
April sent out
What'd you do?
Car horn.
Telekinesis.
April sent out a revised agenda.
I'm sorry. No, I still don't have it. Okay. Go ahead
Okay.
with your resolution.
Okay, Resolution 2024-17R, Introduction, Public Hearing, and Action Tonight. A resolution of the City of New Carlisle supporting the Ohio Municipal League's challenge of AT&T's tariff application at the Public Utilities Commission of Ohio.
And an explanation of this resolution is AT&T is approaching the Public Utilities Commission of Ohio. So what would happen is if I have a water utility going in, water, sewer, whatever, as a government agency, and I want to run it down Church Street, it just so happens that AT&T's lines are in our way of where we need to go. Well, currently AT&T relocates those utilities to get them up out of our way or down below out of our way. Their request to PUCO is to put that cost and burden onto the City of New Carlisle prepaid now instead of at their expense. So as long as there is a tariff way of doing it, they have that possibility of making this move. So this is the first utility, I think, attempting this. So this resolution is to show support with Zanesville and many others to fight this. There is a potential for an initial cost if we were to join, like it'd be like a class action, I think, where.
I don't know if it'd be a class action, but yeah, there could be litigation, but council would have to approve any of those additional expenses.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Yep, okay. Vice Mayor Eggleston,
Yes.
Mayor Cook,
Yes.
Councilwoman Grow.
Yes.
Councilman Bond,
Yes.
Councilman Shammy,
Yes.
Councilwoman Wright,
Yes.
Councilman Lindsay. Accepted 7-0.
Okay, nothing else hidden that I'm not aware of? If not, we'll go to, I guess, the comprehensive plan.
Let's see. All right, thank you, Mayor, members of council, and members of our public. So I've been learning a little bit on, the comprehensive plan on where it was started. I guess it was going to be worked on in 2024. I saw it in the agenda. So then council asked about the comprehensive plan. So I approached Mr. Moore on, what work has already been done, prior to any of our meetings. So I went and found notes that were notated in the previous city manager's comprehensive plan, made notes of some possible amendments and things like that. The possibility of having a rewrite was in there as well. So I don't know how far it got, but when I approached Mr. Moore about, coming to the meeting and doing this comprehensive plan, what do we need to look for? Do we, how do we look at consultants? What is the plan about? What do we really have to look at? So he did some research pretty much through the whole weekend to see where some other municipalities started with their comprehensive plan. Because one, we have had a lot of code changes since the last plan. And we did look, in 2012, it was updated. It had a few minor amendments, no rewrites. It still has Twin Creeks in there stated as in foreclosure. So there's a lot of little things like that need to be adjusted. But places like Tip City, basically every city that you can think of, municipal government, went through and did some code work prior to the comprehensive plan, unless there was a few amendments to the plan that needed to be done in the meantime. They can kind of work side by side, but there's some codes that need to be possibly addressed prior to, say, even a rewrite or some major amendments to the comprehensive plan. Part of the comprehensive plans that we looked at, like Tip City and Springfield and Fairborn and everyone, has it broke down into, we have some departmental areas, but your core downtown, your various zoning districts. What will it take to keep what you got, and where do you see growing in the future? What's it going to take? We have a 235 corridor, can't widen it. So the type of businesses that are in there, what are they allowed to do? What are they not allowed to do? Sign ordinances, minimal sign stuff. So if we want to bring a different type or bring two businesses in, it's really restrictive. So I wanted to get, and I haven't really got anything back on the icebreaker session agenda or the questions on outside of the basic amendments of, again, updating some plant information, updating Twin Creeks, updating stuff that is just outdated naturally due to the times. What else is there in the comprehensive plan that council had feelings, thoughts, comments, concerns with, that we can take those in and take a look at and go, okay, we can work those into the comprehensive plan update, or we can start, looking at the code as well and a start of a code rewrite. And that's where Mr. Moore is going to explain to you guys a little bit on things that we have contradicting each other, that when you look at the comprehensive plan, for instance, the plan says that your neighborhoods, you do what you can to have them, let me find it. I was almost speaking faster. So develop residential neighborhood goals and policies that preserve property values and promote a safe, healthy, and attractive living environment for city residents. So do we do that with what we do now, with property values, with our code? If we were to update this to, accessory structures, parking on grass, just various things that are there that we got code, that grass is in a couple different areas. Structures are in a couple different areas, not just your exterior property. And some of them contradict each other. So if we go to do which I think is needed, a rewrite of the plan, of the comprehensive plan, that when it spells out what you want to do in those neighborhoods, what you want to do in your downtown district, what you want to do in all those districts, is that when we go to the code and someone approaches it, hey, city council, you guys want to do this, however, your code says we can't do this, this, and this. So they kind of go against each other. So we think we could kind of do two things at once, do partial work on the comprehensive plan and maybe do some adjustments to the code. With that being said, Mr. Moore might be able to fill you in on some things that he's done research with all these other towns, videos, things that he's been working with.
Thank you, Mr. Coe, members of council. Yeah, so I've been quite busy doing the research and looking at everything that he had said. And, I want to kind of address things from my perspective as overseeing code enforcement and the planning side of things. And when he's talking about some of the conflicting codes, one of those codes is actually one of our major violations, and that's storage. People store everything in their yards. It could be couches, love seats. Our current code in 1460-25D states storage, and it says this exactly: except as provided for in other regulations of the city, all outdoor storage of any kind shall be prohibited. All storage, your trash cans, your cars, your lawnmowers, your outdoor furniture, because it says all kinds, right? It doesn't specify in the definitions what storage is prohibited and what storage is permitted. And that's just one area of what we're talking about. If we're going to increase, property values, the code needs to be simplified. It's confusing. It's confusing not only for me as the planning director and code enforcement, but also confusing for our citizens as well. And so I think that's an area that we should probably look into in a bigger way. And I think that's what other cities is doing as well. They looked at their codes before they really dove into a whole rewrite of a comprehensive plan. By saying that, I read our comprehensive plan from 2012 multiple times. There's things in there like need to be updated, but it's not horrible. The comprehensive plan is actually really good. It just needs some updates. So when we talk about hiring a consultant to rewrite our whole comprehensive plan, that may not be the focus right now. It may be the focus of let's audit our codes and maybe look and see if there's rewrite opportunities in those codes as well. So that's kind of where I was at with, talking with Howie on these things. Also, on storage and display, it's also mentioned in another area of our code, and that is 1280.20. And it says specifically, residential and transitional district, no materials, products, or goods shall be stored outdoors or displayed on the exterior of the premises where they can be observed from a street or property line. What does that mean? What does that mean?
That means you can't have a lawn chair or any chair sitting on your front porch because you can see it from across the street.
Right, and then it goes on to say, except on a temporary basis as may be required during construction. Okay, and then another area of our code when it comes down to occupancy, 1460-25F. No temporary buildings, trailers, recreational vehicles, tents, or garages shall be used temporary or permanently as a residence in the course of construction. Is that only during construction? It doesn't specify that. Does that mean I can't have a weekend camp out in my tent with my kids? It doesn't specify that. So there's so many areas of the code that are vague. And I think that's what we need to look at before we really dive deep into what does the next 15 to 20 years look like for the city of New Carlisle. That's my 2 cents.
Go ahead, Bill.
So what will it take to straighten these codes up? Does council need to look at all of them, or are you going to do that?
I think it's a team effort. And it's not only that, just us, but we also get our community involved in helping us look at these codes, creating a committee to bring an engagement committee. I think it's important for our citizens to know what the codes are. They have to follow those rules. They should help better understand them. There are consultants for stuff like that too. And I'm not pushing consultants because I don't want to do the work. I'm a workhorse. I worked all weekend on this alone. It's my day off too, right? But I get the job done. So it's not like I don't want to do the work, and I'm not afraid to do the work. I'm not even hesitant to do the work. I just want to be smart enough to know that if we're going to put something like this together that's going to last long term, that we do it correctly from the get-go. And that I don't have a biased opinion, and that the citizens don't have a biased opinion, or our council doesn't have a biased opinion. Having a consultant comes in that's not biased will look at things from the outside and say, this is what's wrong, this is how you can rewrite that, and still make us in compliance with state and federal regulations.
So,
What do you think, for either one of the manager or you, Mr. Moore, what would a consultant to do that, what would that cost, you think, in the neighborhood?
Well, we did some RFQ lookups. Tip City, Springfield, they all had their bid proposals, and most of them would say, we expect the project, now this is comprehensive rewrite, we expect it to be up to $100,000 and take about a year. So it's a year project for one person or their team setting up meetings. So yeah, I don't know, that was just a couple that we seen, 100,000, 75 on various places, but they run the show. They set the meetings. They say, here's the next meeting, here's the public meeting, and they put it all together and say, here's your package. from what you put in, what they put in, what we put in. So there's a lot to it, and then all your documents, your PowerPoints, when citizens show up to say, hey, we want to know about our central business district. They're going to come in here, and these people will have this stuff lined up and say, well, you have a business in here. Here's some things that we can do to help improve your business. Is council okay with that? Are they okay with that? That takes that time, and so mostly what we've seen is up to $100,000 on a comprehensive plan. We think if we're going to do a code rewrite, Brian is going to do a lot of legwork, but I still think we need the consultant to say, all right, Brian, what you got done for me? Let me take all that stuff and bam, bring it all out. So you don't spend 6 months working on just this project. Because if you work on a project a day or two a week, the next day or next week a day or two, the next week a day, it's just not going to get done. You got to stay committed with it. These are two of the most tedious probably things to do is rewrite the code from when the city was come to life, and its plan for its city. Those are the two main working documents.
I'd like to recap if I could. He's talking about $100,000 for a comprehensive plan rewrite on a consultant. I don't believe it would be to that extent for a code rewrite, and we're not rewriting every code. I think
Right.
the audit can be internal. We can start looking at our audit internally, have city council look at and audit those codes, have our citizen engagement committees audit those codes, and I could create this spreadsheet where I would list every code that we have. What are our objectives to these codes? What kind of issues are we dealing with? So if I violate somebody for glare, and our definition of glare in our code is very big, it's very big. And it really specifies outside of the industrial district. It doesn't talk about a whole lot of glare within certain other districts. And what is glare? And how do I prove that? What is the lumens of glare where it becomes glare? So when we start thinking about those types of things, I really think it's important to get our citizens involved in a committee and have them come in and help us work on this project.
Go ahead, Chris.
Thanks. Can we get an estimate on something like that?
I can do that if
Okay.
he wants to.
I think would like to know, because, you were mentioning Heber Heights and something, we're not even close to
Correct.
that size. I wouldn't think it'd be $100,000. That would be ridiculous for our sweet little town.
I think Tip Cities was up to 100.
Or Tip City.
Yeah, the big thing with it is, and I don't throw anything out there that couldn't be a possibility. New Carlisle, so if you have a code for exterior property maintenance, and then you have your police, then you have all those different sections. All cities have those same sections. How in depth they get, obviously we have, I think, 8 to 10 districts. Some other places might have 15 to 20. So yeah, that's where the savings will be, is in not having as many multiple districts. We have some residential and 3 business, and I think we have 3 business and maybe 6 residential or 7 residentials.
I'd
So
like to see it get it buttoned up and moving forward with it.
And
I'm
another
curious.
too is like one example, what he's talking about when it comes down to the district breakdown is like in the central business district, our downtown area, manufacturing is prohibited. So if I wanted to repair shoes, which would be a great business downtown, don't get me wrong, it's prohibited. So that prevents certain businesses that are considered manufacturing but on a lower scale. The manufacturing definition in our code is probably thinking heavy machinery, lots of big trucks, right? We're not thinking like that. It's not modern, right? It's a little old school when it comes to that definition of manufacturing. Another thing too is like in our residential districts, and I'm going to compare this to Park Lane. On Wineland and LeMay, there's a little carryout store right there. All of our residential districts prevent having any kind of retail in those districts. But a carryout store would be beneficial maybe in the Northwoods area for people who cannot walk to IGA. So we got to start thinking about the transportation side of things and making it more community focused. So when we're looking at the code re-audit and the rewrite, why don't we look at it from the perspective of what really benefits our citizens without top-down law, where it's, because that approach sometimes isn't very successful. Or the top-down approach to, if you're going to violate this, then this is what happens to you. I also think when we're looking at code enforcement, we should maybe consider renaming that. Nobody wants to be enforced to do anything. You don't want me to enforce something upon you. right? We should maybe look at a neighborhood revitalization officer or something along those lines where it's a little more sensitive, but it still maintains our laws and our codes. That's just my opinion, but I'm just putting that out there. And I'm saying that because of I really paid a lot of attention to code enforcement in the last year and a half I've been here. And I hear from the citizens. I hear what works and what doesn't work. And when you just send a letter to somebody, and the way our letter is written is very intimidating, you almost need a legal degree to read it. And I've had this conversation with you, right? And so you understand where I'm coming from. When you read a letter that's sent because you are parking in your grass, it says a division by our city has determined that you violated these codes, and you have a right to appeal for $100. Otherwise, if you don't correct by this deadline, city will take further action against you. That's intimidating. Where it should be more relationship. We can build a relationship there. There's opportunities to build relationships there versus that top-down approach.
Go ahead, Bill.
Can you get some estimates on the code rewrite for us or not?
I will definitely try to get those to see if we can find some similarities, because what we'll end up having to do is go out for a request for qualifications, which is an illegal bidding. If I think it's going to be over $50,000, you have to go out for request for qualifications, and they submit their qualifications, and then you work on a price. You got to be careful with working with, like, we know a couple companies that have worked with a lot of these other ones, and you call them and say, hey, they might give us ballpark, but it could be tens of thousands up, somewhere around there, but they won't give us anything that'll probably be close because they're in competition with others. So that usually anything over 50,000, you got to be careful with getting estimates. Do I think it could cost that? Yeah, but it may not. But if I can find out if it's definitely not going to be that much, then I'll actually start going out and getting true proposals with an ask. I need this tightened up, and here's our spec. We'll give them a spec for that to give their price.
Do you just need a consensus of council, or do you need a motion?
No, not for this. This is just standard, go out, try to get some pricing and stuff like that to see what it might be.
Mr. Bond.
Mr. Moore, how long would it take you to identify what sections need looked at?
For what I can violate for? So
Yeah.
I'm looking at the 1200 chapter and the 1400 chapter. That's within my reach that I can submit. I could probably have that done in 30 days.
Okay. I'm just thinking because, we don't have to do all
No, I would
sections,
identify, yes.
but to know what the scope of what we need to look at is.
But I also would like to partner with him and work with him on this too, because there's areas of his code, right, that also needs work. And then there's the general offense code. I can't do anything in general offenses according, maybe I'm wrong, maybe Jake can correct me on this, but in general offense code, I'm under the understanding that only law enforcement can violate in general offense codes. And there are certain things, is that correct?
Yeah, unless
Okay.
we
So-
amend.
Unless you amend. So there's areas in there that could be beneficial. I don't want to create more laws. I just don't want to do that. I don't want to create more ordinances and laws and different things to hammer people down. I want to simplify what we have so we can build better relationships with the community. And I think by doing that, me partnering with him, going through his codes as well, because he and I talked about this about a year ago. There's areas of his code that's very big as well, and there's things that as a fire chief, he could be doing that is not permitted in our current code. And so that's something that I would want to partner with him. And I would like to have maybe an additional 30 days to do that as well with the chief, if that's a good time for you.
So I guess, would you want a consensus from council to go ahead with this program?
No, I think as long as council's under the understanding that we're going to start working with some codes first, and then we're going to bring in this comprehensive plan just a little bit behind it, and still obviously get data for it, and say, hey, this is kind of where we're headed. So, no, I don't think so. I mean, you guys know we're going to start working on the code. I think in the meantime, like while he's gathering this data, eventually, like I said, we'll probably get someone that will set and bring us all together. So there's not just one person speaking on the deal. There'll be someone in here that will have us all setting these, there'll be multiple meetings. Just like when I went to the roundabout meeting in Springfield, there was a few places here, but they bring it all and break it down to the little pieces that you need to know. It's not drawn out. And for a meeting that takes that much information and only lasts less than an hour was pretty good. I mean, so that's what our goal is, yes. I mean, I don't need anything, I think, formal.
Anybody have, go ahead, Kathy.
Yeah, I have a, I don't know, question or suggestion. The Charter Review Committee, which the charter is our most important piece of paper, supposedly was done with citizens of this town who cared and, invested a lot of time in that. The code, however, revision, I think probably would work well with that same sort of committee. I don't know why we couldn't start there and see what we truly need. Because, yeah, our codes are a wreck. I'll be the first one to agree. We've talked about that they're just all over the place and out of order and here and there and whatnot. But we agree that needs to happen. It's just that I'm not ready to bounce $50,000 at anybody to do that, because I think our citizens and our committees and stuff need to get together and get a better idea of what that is. And that should start up right away if we could do that and get it going. Because they're not the same thing. The comprehensive plan is a more generalized plan, so, and they're totally different things. But I do understand where you want them to work together, that's fine. But I just don't want to think about them in the same hand, because I don't think they are.
Yeah, your comprehensive plan gives you general ideas on, it's council's reasonable effort for growth, to say residential growth. Well, if in our code, some things aren't quite spelled out to make your reasonable effort valuable, then it's not good. So for instance, we were talking about some things where general housing, we got 2 developments going on. And it says in the comprehensive plan that you can do, within reason. You have to look at your water, your sewer, your natural resources. You have to look at all those. Well, if you take a look at some of the code on these developments, on how you might change from agricultural to residential or light industrial to residential, it's pretty easy to not do it. But if the comprehensive plan says you're going to go in one direction, and it states to never really stop, growing, or it says to stop growing, you have to make that reasonable decision, and having a little bit of code adjustment will help that, I think, a little bit with that document too.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you
Yeah.
here. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the idea. I think for me, that's one of my main ideas, is that I don't want to grow anymore for 15, 20 years at all, period. Maybe some industrial, but as far as homes, I do not want, or restaurants or something like that. I do not want to grow, and I don't want somebody to buy the farm at blah-de-blah and say, well, we're going to put in 5,000 of these houses because your comprehensive plan says I can. And that's what we were told pretty much, or that's the way I understood what we were told the last time. Our code says they can do that. Well, we need to fix that, and I guess maybe that's what you're saying. But I think somewhere it needs to stop it first. We need to put a halt.
Well, yeah, so you're right in the way that in the front of your comprehensive plan, it says, council will make every reasonable effort for growth for the city. So your reasonable effort is, if it's already zoned residential, we're good with that, because we already made the decision with it being zoned residential. Your reasonable effort to say, I have enough, and someone wants to come in and build something else that is not currently residential, you have those things in hand that you can utilize by not changing the zoning from ag to residential, from light industrial to residential, and that's completely legal. So your reasonable effort is still there with that. So in your comprehensive plan, you'll never say, I'm stopping housing. You put ways in your code that comprehensive plan says reasonable. You're going to make the reasonable effort by your code stating, well, we're out of residential properties right now. We're not looking for additional at that point in time when you're approached.
Right. Yeah, we're not disagreeing. We're just saying it different, that's all.
Can I kind of answer what she said? You had mentioned that you wanted to utilize that committee as soon as possible. Would you allow me to have my 30 days of due diligence and my 30 days with him and get my list together before we establish a committee? Because I think what you said is correct. Gotcha, okay. I just want to make sure that we're on the same page because I don't want to spend $50,000 if we don't have to either.
No.
So, if we can get our due diligence done, get the committee in, and then look at the overview, maybe we just hire a consultant to audit our new overview of it
Yeah.
versus the whole rewrite.
Yeah. With that, I think you've got the, okay.
Okay.
So you want to go to the Citizen of the Year and the Firefighter of the Year?
So before I got into this position, I guess sometime, maybe about a year ago or a little less than a year ago, it was worked on to have initially a Citizen of the Year. And that does come out of there. It slides up out of that little bracket. But Mayor Cook has what was an award that was drafted up just to be a sample initially. And then at our one meeting, it was brought up about, hey, what about firefighters? What about employees? What about, various people? So you can have three different things if you want to do those. Various places have a Citizen of the Year Junior, Citizen of the Year Senior. They have a Business of the Year. They have so many categories, and we got like Enans. Who else do we have? Bay Village. We got there's just tons. Wyoming. They're all different. So it's really at council's pleasure to pick 1, 2, 3 items to do. How do you do it annually? Do we do it at the Heritage of Flight, to where that's kind of the big event in town where everybody's there and do a presentation? Those are all things that were brought up, I guess, in the past to. Yes, you can bring them to council, but what if we did them at council and did them in front of a bunch of people? So all those are out there. There's various things. I'm open to what council would like to see for various awards. I don't want to really do 10 of them, but we're probably getting overboard then.
Well, just a second, Bill. I was going to say, I think there should be some limit to this, and if you went with a citizen, firefighter, and employee, my personal opinion would be to quit with that. Go ahead, Bill.
Well, you almost took the words out of my mouth. I would definitely like to see an Employee of the Year. And then the criteria for that would be left up to the city manager and/or the prospective supervisors or whatnot. I'd also like to see one for the firefighters. And again, that criteria would be left up to the chief. He would set that, and, council would pretty much be out of the criteria, and then council would present it, or the chief would present it, or the department head would present it to that employee on behalf of the city.
I personally kind of like the idea of presenting it at the Heritage of Flight where we've got more people.
That would be up to the Heritage of Flight if they let
Sure.
that happen. I mean, it's not a
That can
city
be-
function.
That can be discussed. The other thing would be of the Citizen of the Year. I think the last time we talked about this, there were several that were mentioned that we had looked at, but they were outside of the city. So that kind of precluded the presentation of that award that year. Would you think that for the citizens to nominate the Citizen of the Year would be the apropos, or what is your pleasure on that? Go ahead.
I would like to add, you had mentioned some places do Junior Citizen of the Year, and I would love to see that happen for kids under the age of 18. I think it would be an exemplary honor. It would be something they could put on their resume, and it would provide and encourage and foster positive reinforcement to our youth within the city. So I would also like to add a fourth and have there also be a Junior Citizen of the Year.
Anyone else?
We could probably replace the junior with the Citizen of the Year with the Junior Citizen of the Year. I think that would have more impact than giving an old, because most people in this town's old anyway, so I'm just gonna say it. Instead of giving the chief one that's sitting on his mantle at the house, that he's not ever gonna put it on a resume because he's gonna retire from here. The junior award, I think, would be a better option, because as Councilwoman Rose says, they could put it on their resumes for future employment or future endeavors, whatever they decide to go in. Along, it could help them on a resume for college or something. I think it would have more impact.
So you're advocating going with 4?
Just three.
3.
Dropping
Okay.
off the year, Citizen of the Year and replacing it with the junior citizen, junior, whatever.
In other words, citizen and/or junior.
Just the junior part.
Just the junior part.
Go ahead, Peg.
I think we need to do a senior and a junior, because we have people who do a lot for our city who don't really get recognized. And true junior, I mean, there are a lot of youth that help out with stuff too, and they can use that for resumes and college apps or whatever, but I mean, personally, if you've got, you're 30 years old, you can't be Citizen of the Year because you're over the age of 18. And I also think we need to do a business. We do have several businesses that contribute a whole lot to the city. You got the employee and the firefighter. And I think we should try and come up with something for people who don't live in the city, but do a lot for the city. We've got several business owners in town that go beyond what they need to make this city a better place, but they don't live in the city limits.
Let me ask a dumb question. Do we have an approximate cost on this?
I forgot to even ask her when they ordered it. I'm gonna say that was probably somewhere around between 25 and 50. It's probably that. I'd say it's probably about $35 to $50.
So if we're talking 3, it's $150. If we're talking 5, it's $250. I have no problem, and if we want to go to 5, what's the rest of the council think?
I think sometimes the more you have, it diminishes how special the award is. Not to say it always happens, but it has a tendency to do that. Other than that, I don't have much of a preference, but I like fewer the better.
Go ahead.
So currently in the newsletter, we're doing a quarterly employee spotlight. It's not an award, but we do spotlight each employee. So eventually, I have 11 in my department, and then there's 4 up in the administration building. So within 15 months, we'll have every employee that will get on a quarterly, well, no, there's only 4 years, so it'll take a couple years to get through. I'm not against an employee award per year. But I do know we do employee spotlights, so we're working through that. No, I think we had 2 of them so far. The next spring quarterly newsletter, we're working on the next person to be that. But it's not to tell you to not do it, but we do give some recognition, starting with our employees in the city.
I think we do businesses too, don't we?
And we do business spotlights also, so I'm not sure who we're picking for the spring one, but as in the last one, it was Good Old Lumber, The one before that was
Penny Lane?
maybe it was Penny Lane in the first one.
Penny
It
Lane.
was anyway.
Go ahead, Kathy.
I guess I'd agree with the three. I don't know, I just don't know how we're gonna pick the person. That was my same issue last time. I just don't like the idea of judging who's better than who. It's just not my job on this earth to do that. That's all.
Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead.
I think we could call on the citizens to nominate people
That-
and then go from there. So maybe they could nominate through an email to somebody in admin, and then Howie could email us the list of the people. We can discuss it amongst ourselves. I think that would be a really good way to go about it. I would also like to add, and obviously I know this could potentially be a stretch, maybe like a $100 gift certificate for the Junior Citizen of the Year, as well as a letter from the mayor explaining that they got this so that they can add that to their resume and put it with like their diploma or whatever,
More like a certificate.
something like that.
Naming them Junior Citizen of the Year and sign for that, the appreciation of the city.
Right, like I got a letter from the president, my senior year, honoring me for a government award. And so that's just sitting inside my diploma, so, something like that. It was just really basic, it was just a few sentences. We're honoring Carrie Ann for this award, and then it was signed by the president, so.
There are some places out there we can already kind of look at. Some of the cities have nomination forms that you put on there, and ones that take citizens, or almost every city, it takes a citizen, and they just go to the website, go up to the city building, grab a nomination form, complete it, and say, here's the deadline, and each year it's November. So by January, we know who the citizen of the year would be.
Maybe we could add that as a PDF on the city website so somebody could download it.
Oh,
or
yeah, that's what would be
fill
on
it
there.
out electronically and email it back.
Well, I guess if we were going to do this with the Heritage of Flight, with their auspices, wouldn't we have to do something fairly quick?
Not necessarily with them. It would just be, when do we want to, we figure out who, time to draft the documents, and then we'll go through the year 2025, and then probably October, November, I'll see when some of these other ones, it'll take a little bit of time to get them all in and review them, get them to council and say, it's kind of who we like, who we want to see, and then get the proclamations drafted, stuff like that. So, I guess first off is the definite who we want to give awards to. But I don't think it's in a rush to get it out so people are aware of it. But it will be for the year 2025.
Do I have a motion on the number?
Make a motion that we do 3, the Employee of the Year, Firefighter of the Year, and Junior Citizen of the Year.
Right.
Go ahead, Chief.
I know we talked about firefighter of the year and everything else. Are we leaving our deputies out because of their contract?
I think they do, don't they do
They
a,
do their own.
I think the Sheriff's Office does something for outstanding services. And then they get a ribbon or something they wear in their uniform too.
They have a policeman's ball with all that.
I'm sorry?
Don't they have like a policeman's ball with all of that?
No, I don't know if they do that.
Yeah, I'm not
anymore.
sure.
Do they?
In some cities, they,
I have a motion for 3. Do I have a second? Okay, we got a second.
So your motion is to have 3 awards, one for the Employee of the Year, one for Firefighter of the Year, and one for Junior Citizen of the Year. Councilwoman Wright?
No. Sorry.
Councilman Lindsay?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Eggleston?
No.
Mayor Cook?
Yes.
Councilwoman Grow?
yes.
Councilman Bond?
Yes.
Councilman Shammy?
Yes.
Accepted 5-2.
Okay, I will, junior, employee, firefighter, we'll work on drafting the nomination forms and look for some feedback. and then get them posted once we know we're good with them.
With a deadline.
Yeah, with the deadline, yeah, the nomination form will probably come to you with everything you need to know, things that we're looking for when the citizen nominates their fellow citizen, what they're required to complete, and, maybe a 5,000 word essay, and
I got one more. Could you attach it to the newsletter or something?
if we can get it done by, we might be able to. It's, yeah.
I mean, that's.
That one doesn't come out till
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Is that your newsletter input?
Yes. Put that on the
Would
front
you
page.
also put on the bottom of that nomination that only one submission from a citizen per individual?
One nomination.
In other words, I don't want
Right.
me writing up 3 or 4
Right, yeah.
One per household, you think?
per household, something like that. Yeah. I agree. But if you've got 3 opens, well, of course, the employee's gonna be by the city, the fire department's gonna do theirs, so the citizen's the only one, or a junior citizen, the only one.
Yeah, I got a couple ideas for the employee one. Sometimes they nominate their fellow colleague, you know,
I think that's a good way of doing it.
yeah.
Yeah, I think
So
that.
I'll work on a few things and I'll bring it back to council.
Did you need a call to the newsletter for me?
Have you got anything else, Mr. Kitco?
As far as those 2 items, actually, the last one I have before we move on to charter amendments.
Yeah.
Any information y'all want to give me for the city manager's brochure?
That was on my list. Where do we stand with that?
I'm ready to, it'll all get cleaned up and all have the same font, but is there any text? Any additional information you would like placed? You can kind of see how we put some pictures and some wording of what our town is about, what we try to do, the qualifications, how they report, basically charter language. And then powers and duties of the city manager, so they pretty much know what they're coming to. Compensation and benefits section, and then a how to apply area.
Go ahead, Kathy.
Yeah, this is what, 5 pages of print? How many of these are we sending out? I'm a
So-
tightwad, that's gonna be expensive.
It doesn't go out as a paper like this. It will go on to like USA.gov or USA.gov jobs.
A digital thing.
It'll almost all be digital. Springfield News Sun, that type of thing.
Because I noticed on theirs, they only had 2 and 3 pages, and that was a lot bigger cities than us, so.
Yeah, it ranged anywhere from 3 to 12.
Well, I
Yeah.
didn't share those with us, so I didn't see those.
Are you sending this over to the Ohio Municipal League too?
Yeah, Ohio Municipal League, and there's another one that was added, I think the last year ago, it was sent to another government agency like that,
Okay.
or a nonprofit. So we're good with the wording, we'll just go that route. Just to make sure that they will be sent to the HR email box, which I check, and I think Colleen Ray checks. And as I get those, I'll probably get this out. It takes 2 days to get it in the paper, and I can get it emailed by the time they post. But they'll come to HR, and city administration will work in conjunction with city council. Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Bill.
will you be emailing the applications out to us that you receive?
Yeah, what I'm gonna do is set a first review deadline, have applications in, it's usually 30 days. So whatever applications come within that first 30 days, you'll get a dump. And then you'll have those applications to review to be able to then go, we think we got what we're looking for, and then we'll set some first round interviews and then move on from there. Is there anything else you'd like to?
Go ahead, Kathy.
Did you check with the, I know you probably did, but I'm just asking, with our charter as to the requirements on the education? I thought it was higher than that. I think it was a suggestion from the charter committee that it would be higher than that,
In
like
the,
educationally.
yeah, in the current charter, it's a minimum of 2 years of experience as a city manager or in comparable leadership role within city management Was it be a college degree in public administration or related field, or an equivalent combination of relevant municipal management experience and formal education in this professional field?
I thought
That's
it was
pretty much
master's.
verbatim out of the charter, I think, isn't it?
It's pretty close.
Yeah, I think we had changed that or altered that slightly in the review, and it's just one of those things we have not got around to yet. But if that's okay with everybody else. Right, it hasn't, no.
So we have to.
Just mentioning that.
Do you have something, Mr. Lindsay? I thought you were going to say something.
Read my mind, aren't you? The wages, I kind of have a problem with the wages of paying somebody to start at 103,000. I thought we had discussed it would be a little lower than that, maybe 90, 95,000. And that would depend on qualifications, education, how long they've been manager someplace else or equivalent. Somebody that's only been a couple of years. The last time we did this, I don't think we got anybody that was only 2 years in the field. Most of them was wanting relocated, coming from major cities in the U.S., coming back to the area. I just have a problem starting somebody that don't have a whole lot of knowledge or time at $103,000 plus benefit package.
Possibly change it to up to 140 instead of 103, or to go up to.
Yeah,
That would probably be better, I think, because that way they don't know what the bottom is. And again, it would depend on their salary or what most people in their resumes or when they apply for positions like this, they put in salary requirements. So that would be something that would be helpful to us if they put a range in there. I mean, if somebody wants $180,000, that would just go in the trash can, I'm sure. Because I'm not interested in paying anybody that kind of money to start out.
I honestly think when we start pulling from the pool to get the education and everything, you're going to be, nowadays, it's almost a minimum of 100. I mean, it's not my position, you know, but I almost think that's what it's going to take to get someone there that is somewhat familiar with all these plans we're talking about today. I mean, unless they really don't have any information or don't have any skills, which they got to have some, we're going to be doing a lot of training on the current code, the comprehensive plan, there's going to be a lot to it. I really think that it's a minimum of 100, to be honest with you, to get someone that should hop right in here and be able to keep the city moving and not be a struggle to where if council's finding someone who is questionable, I think you're starting to get into people who they're coming here for a reason. If you're coming to New Carlisle probably to start your career off, we're trying to not do that per se. We want someone who's been somewhere.
Seasoned.
Yeah, at least enough to, you're not a newbie. And anybody that has probably a minimum 5 years of any kind of government experience is going to want over 100 to run the whole city.
Let me ask another dumb
But
question.
that would only be the minimum amount that start. And with those qualifications that you're talking about, I'm sure council would, with that qualifications, would not start them at the low end. They would start them at, a better rate, like maybe 110, 105, something like that. I don't know, I'm just throwing numbers out there.
A suggestion to drop it to maybe 100 to 140. I got to give them a little bit over us. I mean, I know a manager's not going to come in and get paid less than.
I would be comfortable with the 100, although not really, but it's a little bit less than the 103. I mean, 100 would be somebody who just come out of college and been working someplace a couple of years trying to get their feet wet and really don't know a whole lot, unless they're exceptionally smart like, yourself or Mr. Moore.
Okay, it's like a raise.
Is HR going to be checking these qualifications and checking the background on these folks
we will be doing a lot of pre-work ahead of time before you get these dumps to make sure that what we're sending you is legitimate, because when you make your decision on 3 or 4 people, we want them to, kind of pan out, that they're not, fluffing up everything.
Anybody got anything else?
So, just to clarify, Mr. Mayor, so we're gonna drop that to 100,000 from 100 to 140?
Pleasure, council.
Is that what council wants to do?
Is that,
Sure.
Okay.
you want a motion or?
No, I'm good. No, it's a
Consensus?
I
yeah.
have no problem with it.
noted.
You all right with that, Peg? Kathy?
I guess.
Rest of you?
Don't forget that last line. It says, council, please provide date. Don't forget that.
I'm sorry.
It says, council, please provide date, the very last.
Oh, yeah, that's my note to you guys.
Don't
Yeah.
forget
Oh, it'd probably be something that would slip through the cracks, but no, we'll be going over this probably tomorrow, the next day, so we can get it out in the ad. That is, I think, all I had for our initial part of the session. And then now, charter amendments?
Mr. Mayor, I have one
Go
more
ahead.
question for the manager on the hiring. Do we need to go and give them 30 days for resumes to be put in here? Can we do it like, give them a 2-week or maybe no more than a 15-day deadline from publication?
Everyone, and I'm not saying we can't be different, everyone we reviewed.
Is 30 days?
It's almost always 30.
Do you know if that's what we did last time?
Yes. I think it was 30 or no, it wasn't more. I think it was 30 days.
Okay, I was just
I
asking.
can double check, but yeah.
All right, I'm good with that.
So,
Charter amendments, I think our part was done, but I think you requested some charter amendments that you guys have, and we had brought the law director, Jake, here with us to work on some of those, and some that he may have available that you want to work on for the May, but I think a lot of them are for the November possibly.
I think we went through, what, section 4 when we updated last time?
That's correct. You did preamble through section 4.
So, has council had an opportunity to look at some of these sections of the charter that possibly need changed?
We left it off at 4, something.
Yeah, we've been through 4, so we'd start with 5. And we've, I guess we've got that,
You'll just say basic,
we got that situation under control with the service director, assistant city manager, fire chief with an ordinance, or are we gonna make a change in this charter?
No, the charter review the ordinance is in front of you for the May ballot. So at on Monday night's meeting, that ordinance will be in front of you to approve, then that will be on the May ballot for service director, fire chief. The assistant city manager portion will be, upon hiring, if you say, you know what, we still want Mr. Kitco to stay in that position, because right now it's an at-will, the position is, to do that, but
I thought we already did that. I thought we already had you do that.
Well,
Language.
we are, it's gonna be presented to us next meeting to be put on the ballot, but I just wanted to make sure that we were,
I thought we asked the lawyer discuss the gun stuff. Isn't that what that was?
That's next Monday.
That's next Monday.
That's next week, okay.
I've looked at that some, but I'm still working on that. So the assistant city manager thing was created by ordinance back in 2022. It's section 220.08, and that's a pretty easy fix. It's not a charter amendment. You could just amend that ordinance. So it says at the end, the position of assistant city manager shall be filled or vacant at the city manager's discretion. You could just add with the approval of council to that, add 3 words. 4 words, sorry. But that doesn't need to be addressed in the charter. And then I know you mentioned 9.01, that's the signature of the candidate on the petition. I know that's been mentioned in the past,
Right.
cutting that language out.
I was taking that letter out that had to accompany the nominating petition.
So I don't know if you want to do entire sections, or if you just want to address a few things here and there, and then do entire sections in November. I know there's one I would like. So there's a spot in the charter under the Article 4, which is council. It says, what things require ordinances. And then under the city manager part, 5.02, it basically says that no contract shall be valid unless ratified by an ordinance of council. I would like to add or resolution of council, because right now, every contract's 2 reads. So we have to do it by emergency legislation if we want to get a contract through quickly. Resolution will allow us to do it at 1 read, so that's a pretty easy change too.
Sounds good.
Or if you want to do section 5, 6, whatever you want to do.
Just a second, Mr. Lindy's trying to download the.
Does anybody else have any sections that you want to look at?
Is that letter one towards the end? The one about the letter for the nominations, is that at the end of the charter?
It's like 9.01,
So,
but it'd be nice to address that before the next election.
Oh, yeah.
I know where it's at.
Just go to Google and Google Newcomer's charter. Sorry.
anything further on this charter?
So just those 3, or do you think we could add one more or something?
Well, Mayor Cook, so would we like to go ahead and get drafted up the change, have a ordinance in front, resolution, right? Or ordinance in front of you for the nominations letter to have that changed? That could be an easy one for the May election. What would be another one that is, you would like to do for the May election?
If we get it passed for the May election, that will take care of the November election and have it off of that.
That's why it makes sense to do that one now, for sure.
Yeah. Because we have an election for 3 of us in November. So if we get that out of the way,
I agree.
otherwise it would be another 2 years after the November election.
Okay, we'll work on getting that one drafted. So we have the service director charter amendment change already in front of you. We'll have the nomination one coming to you soon. And then any other one that has got that significance to it that we need to go ahead and get on for the May ballot?
The one the lawyer recommended to change from an ordinance to a
Resolutions
resolution.
on
Okay.
contracts,
Okay,
if council
I don't have
has
a problem with
consensus with that.
do we have a good consensus of council to make that adjustment? I like that, yeah.
Sure.
Oh, well.
It would, I think it would streamline things a little quicker.
Yeah.
I don't want to do it on everything, but I think on some of the contracts that, you know,
And it should reduce emergency legislation, which I know
that's a
you would
good
like.
thing.
Is that anything like reducing the law director's bill?
Yes.
I think so.
I didn't hear
That
that.
would be a resolution, I think. We could do that. But we'd have to get somebody else to write it up. I don't think he would do it.
Nothing further on the charter.
As long as we have, if I may, sorry.
Go ahead.
As long as we have the resolution thing done, the acceptance form for elections done, and the city manager, the service director, and directors covered. And I remember something about the fire chief in that. Is he already covered by the
Got it.
charter?
In the one that's, you'll be voting on Monday.
Right.
Okay,
That one's in there.
okay. As long as he's covered also, so the new manager can't come in and clean house and bring his own people in, we don't want that. We want to keep the people we have that's doing a good job for us, I think.
Anything else? Go ahead, you got something?
No.
All right. You had talked about that meeting with the sheriff and the coffee and donuts. Are we any further along on that?
I got a message, so I talked to Sergeant Say, I got a message in. Still waiting to actually talk physically with him, but my goal is one of the 2 weekends in April to do this. It's not on the Easter weekend, but it'll be probably like Saturday. We've been looking at a couple different options of bagels, but I am working on that. And then trying to find his first availability for a Monday night council meeting.
Okay. Has anybody got anything else?
Nothing else, move to
Nope.
adjourn.
Second?
Councilwoman Wright.
Yes.
Councilman Lindsay.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Eggleston. Mayor Cook. Councilwoman Grow.
Yes.
Councilman Bond.
Yes.
Councilman Chandler.
Yes.